What do we know about Wales? The small Celtic country in the southwest of Great Britain is supposed to be beautiful, but also a bit sedate. But instead, Wales is full of lively people and wondrous transportation devices. A tramway sneaks up the hills. Nutshells out of cowhide float down the river. A baby blue castle slides over the water, and Mars rovers roll along the beach.
Danger.
The rugged coast of the Crown. There are strange noises at Llandudno Promenade. They are made by Jason Milband, who's just entering his workplace. It's showtime. Why does Jason sound like a broken loudspeaker?
This is a swazzle. It's 2 pieces of silver, reed instrument, pop it in your mouth.
That's the way to do it.
Right, I'm going to work, guys.
3 times a day, Jason performs the classic puppet play Punch and Judy.
All right then, boys and girls. Mr. Punch is going to look after the baby. Will you call me if Mr. Punch hits the baby while I'm shopping, boys and girls? I said, will you call me, boys and girls? Will you all call me, boys and girls?
Bad Mr. Punch. The kids are all upset. While Mr. Punch is up to mischief, beats his wife and child, cheats on everyone and even kills people, Jason's mother, Jacqueline, collects the money.
We have these very good German friends, and they actually bought me a Casper as a present, but they wouldn't believe that your Casper was as naughty as our Punch. A few years ago, they changed him to be a Mr. Jolly Nice Guy, which isn't the way to do it.
Even British visitors are sometimes irritated by the evilness of Mr. Punch, but it's not that bad.
It is a slapstick, okay? So, it's loud, but it's not necessarily hard. So it's not that hard. So we have damaged them. Of course I've damaged them, but I fixed them. But I've learned to be more gentle.
And that's a good thing, as Jason's puppets are antiques. Cotman's Punch and Judy is an old family business. Puppets, stage and props are all originals. For 154 years, the box with its red and white stripes has been located at the promenade of Llandudno, the queen of Welsh seaside resorts. And over the years, Mr. Punch hasn't become even the slightest bit nicer.
Thank you, everybody, for coming to see us on such a lovely, lovely Wednesday.
My great-great-grandfather, Richard Cwyfan, rides into Llandudno on his horse and carriage. Horse drops dead. He thinks, oh, what am I going to do? He's seen Punch Judy men all around the country doing Punch Judy. He thought, I'll do a bit of that. He goes on the beach, gets some wood together, makes some puppets, makes the dresses, starts Punch Judy in Llandudno in 1860. And that's Richard Cwyfan. And he showed for 48 years up until his death in 1908.
Punch and Judy at the Beach, a native British puppet show that is not necessarily suitable for children. Mr. Punch gets away with everything. His evil deeds defeat the police, the hangman, and even the devil. Children love this show, and luckily, Jason loved it too.
I will go and hide down there.
He was a natural. My father was very ill, and he was in bed, and he was worrying who was going to take him over. He was only 12 or 11 at the time, and he just popped the swazzle in his mouth, and he was fantastic. And the only time I ever saw a tear in my father's eye, you know, a man's man, but he cried knowing that it would be taken over.
You're not Mr. Punch. Is this Mr. Punch, boys and girls?
No.
You look over there and at the back there, and you say, bye-bye to the mums and dads first of all.
We might get one complaint every 2 years. And they say, it's not right. It's not right. Children shouldn't see Punch hitting them with a stick, or people, they shouldn't see the hangman come up to hang Mr. Punch. But I think you have to give kids more credit. Kids know the difference. It's a puppet show, and it's also heritage. And my argument always is, when you clean Shakespeare, I will clean Punch and Judy. Well, we won't actually, we'll just carry on, or we'll stop.
Close to the Welsh-English border, a man who looks like a turtle with a cow's tail. Peter Faulkner is the Coracle Man. Coracles are tiny, wobbly Welsh boats. Peter has been building them in his workshop for 27 years. Always with background music, the 72-year-old loves hard rock. The villagers of sleepy Lentwadine are used to their neighbours' heavy bass. Aside from noise emissions, Peter cares a lot for nature and his surroundings.
All the materials are sustainable, so they get the regrowth. So from my willow bed, those are cut off at ground level. The hides come from the butchers next door, and the hazel, woodland, willow, yeah, that's it really. Everything is found in the locality.
This ancient type of boats has been common in many countries for more than 3,000 years, but in Wales, coracles are still in use.
Traditionally, or perhaps historically, they've been used as a means of transport across rivers, salt marsh, but over the centuries they developed into boats for fishing, and in West Wales they are used for netting salmon. Bring it around here, there we are. This obviously is, as you said, it is a club. And of course, if you're catching fish, if you're catching big salmon and they start jumping about in the boat, they're going to cause trouble. So this is the priest for dispatching the last rites to make the salmon stop jumping about. Anyway, I think we spent too much time indoors. Let's go to the river and put the boat on the water.
There are many shapes of coracles, depending on the river. And nowadays, they are also built out of fabric, plastic or aluminium. But Peter builds them traditionally out of cow skin. 1 cow per coracle. He leaves the tail connected. It can serve as a shaving brush during camping. Getting aboard isn't really elegant, but once you're seated, it's hard to capsize a coracle. You move by sculling, writing an 8 in the water with a paddle in front of the boat. But Peter enjoys drifting best.
I've done the rivers, I've done the 760 miles, 130 down the Thames, 85 down the River Spey, some of the Shannon. You just catch the barg and you just can't stop.
The 72-year-old rock fan enjoys the peace and quiet on the water. Some of Peter's clients share his other passion as well, rockin' coracles.
Works beautifully. This is a special commission for a gentleman who was a famous rock star. I think his name is Mr. Plant, and I'm going to deliver it.
The lead singer of Led Zeppelin wants a cowskin boat too. Wales is located on the Irish Sea in the southwest of Great Britain. The south of the country, with its many mines and seaports, has always been the industrial centre. The north is mainly rural and serene. And there's Llandudno, home of evil Mr. Punch. It was planned and built by the large landowner Lord Mostyn. He wanted to build no less than the most beautiful seaside resort in Great Britain. A strange little tramway was built in 1906 so that people could have a beautiful sight over the posh resort.
Halfway station, all change please.
The nice conductor with excellent manners is Martin Seidel. He has a slight accent.
Oh, you can have my hand, yeah? Oh, well done. Fantastic. Okay, boys. Oh, good boy. Okay.
The Great Orme Tramway only transports people from town up to the scenic outpost. The ancient trains are busier than ever. A lot of work for Welshman by choice, Martin.
At a distance of half a mile, we drive 4,500 miles in 8 months with our tramways. You can imagine how often we go up and down during that period of time.
What goes up must come down. Martin drives up to the passing point with a handbrake applied. He only releases it once the trams have passed each other.
Now we'll gain momentum.
As both trams are connected with one cable, one pulls up the other. Martin started early with the training for this job.
I've always had model railways. My wife bought me one for Christmas many years ago. I set it up once a year around Christmas time, running through the whole house. And then I pack it up again when we need to vacuum clean.
The tramway's route is split in two.
Hello. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
At the lower route, one of the trams has an axle fracture. This means stress. Martin needs to join the repair work tomorrow morning.
Okay. 4 seats left.
Martin loves his little Welsh coastal tram, but the Augsburg native struggles a bit with the British puppet show tradition.
I used to live in Augsburg's old city, not far from the famous traditional puppet theater. I saw Jim Knopf back then, and now I drive a tram, which is a great thing. Punch Judy is a bit too cruel for my taste.
In the northwest of Wales lies the big island of Anglesey, and close to Anglesey is a small island with a very small church, Saint Cwyfan's. Ray Meehan's is the church warden. Mass can only be celebrated if the tide is right. Ray is always the first one to prepare everything. He's very proud that things always went well during Mass. But sometimes the church is booked for wedding celebrations. That's when things usually go wrong.
You'll always get a lot of the family that will arrive with, I don't know, 6 inches heels on high heel shoes and think how they're going to walk across the stones. We also get them with fancy hats. And if you saw the number of times I retrieved hats from out of the sea on a wedding day, it's quite unremarkable because they get blown up and they don't understand getting married here, the difference from getting married on the land. It's very remarkable.
We're going to the ancient church in the sea. It's stood here since about the 10th century. And as you can see, it's not easy to get here. We have to come at low tide. And I think it's coming in quite fast, actually. So I hope we get off.
Reverend Christine Thlavland is also headed for Saint Cwyfan's.
That is a bit strange, really. They're attracted by the fact that it is an island and that the church is off the island, and it's got a special feel.
When Christine prepares a sermon for the little church in the sea, she always needs to time it to fit the tide. And everything they need must be transported here. The church bell, silverware and wine. And where do they plug in the organ?
Batteries. No electricity, no light, no nothing. So this is battery powered. We bring it over every time, yes.
Thank you for turning out on such a very, very rough day. We're going to go through the service as quickly as possible so that you can all get off the island safely, I hope.
The dress code for Saint Cwyfan's is clearly defined. The best suit and sturdy shoes. Mass is held in 2 languages, English and Welsh.
Amen. Gras a thagnefedd fyddwch gyda chwi. A thadwy yn cariad Christ. We are sorry and truly repent. Lord Jesus Christ.
Every few minutes, Ray needs to check whether the way back is still dry.
Once it starts to run from the left-hand side across, it comes around very quickly. So I have to just be careful that we need time, if necessary, to get the people off the island.
Christine administers the sacrament and the path is still clear. It all went well. This deserves a zip. The congregation carefully reaches land on dry feet.
It would be a bit awkward if we were here for a few hours. No toilets, no food, no tea. It'd be difficult.
Oh, you know that.
It's early morning in Llandudno, in the middle of the high season. Now of all times, one of the town's main attractions has come to a halt, the tramway. The axle has been replaced, but it still doesn't fit. Time for special tools.
Yeah. Go into you, Chris. Yeah?
You need to be a bit more resilient with these old things.
Martin Zeidel's still laughing, but his boss, John Platt, makes a more serious face.
Another hour and 3/4, and I will want to sort of see it running by that time. Anything after that, and I'll start sort of getting grumpy.
1 hour 45, that's tight.
The buckets simulate the weight of the 48 passengers.
Testing the brakes. Hopefully the emergency brake works.
Motor running. Okay, Dave. All clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Strong pull.
The car can now be positioned.
Und dann wird dieser Braketest unter der Fahrt gemacht.
We'll do the brake test during the ride. If that goes smoothly and everyone's happy, we'll return the tram, remove the ballast, and switch to regular service again.
At the steepest point of the route, the stopping distance shall not be more than 10 meters. They simulate a broken cable, as if the tram was pulled down by its own weight. But the new brake doesn't connect. Emergency brake.
We're going to, yeah, we'll change that. Yeah, okay then. We'll just get ready for you. Cheers, Dad. This one didn't drop fast enough, so we're going to adjust it. We're going to adjust it and do it all again.
John is starting to get a bit grumpy.
All stop. Nice one, lads.
That's fine, sir. Thank you.
The second test runs perfectly. Martin can return to work, making the Llandudno visitors happy. It's best if they don't know how little control the conductors of the Great Orme Tramway have over their vehicle.
There's only one big brake at the double-acting winch in the middle. I can stop the tram only via the red button or the black lever.
Oder dann eben über den schwarzen Hebel.
Peter Faulkner meets his friend Cliff Benson in Fishguard, an old fisherman's village on the western coast of Wales. They built a very special boat together some years ago, and it's got a leak now.
You're late.
Yes, I'm sorry.
The sea's going.
We'll soon catch up.
We'll catch up.
The boat is a curgle, a seagoing version of the Coracle.
On gas now. There's no smell.
It's beautiful.
It is. It's wool. It's melting nicely now. That's good. Lucy, you paint it into the seams, and then that'll run down inside and set and produce a waterproof bond.
It was needing fixing, so we brought Peter here to help fix it. He's come all the way from Lentwardine with his wheelbarrow, and basically it's all hands to the ship now, and we've got to get in the water as soon as possible.
Okay. One more stitch and we're done.
Peter Faulkner usually only builds the small one-man coracles. They are fine for rivers but useless on the open sea. That's where the big coracles come in, but you need many helpers. Luckily, Cliff has many friends.
Have you ever been in a boat like this before?
Never.
No, right. Well, no one else has really, except for people about 7,000 years ago. Everyone get that?
This curgle was built 4 years ago as an archaeological experiment. A team of volunteers built a seagoing boat out of cowskins and branches in 10 days. Peter even paddled from Ireland to Scotland in such a model. Curgle is spelled C-W-R-W-G-L, by the way. As all the materials are organic, these boats completely vanished into oblivion. But people in ancient times must have been able to get to the islands. Traces were found in caves.
Right. Yeah, but what's an Irish traveller? In.
Historically, there are rock carvings found in Norway and in Southern Ireland depicting skin boats, which are dated sort of 8,000 years ago, the Mesolithic period. And they were trading around the British Isles, possibly the continent, trading stone for axes and things like that. So they must have been at the top of their technology.
The south of Wales was characterised by hard labour, mining works and the steel industry in former times. A technical marvel was built to reach Newport Harbour, the huge Newport Transporter Bridge with its floating ferry. Thomas Givens could see the Transporter Bridge from his bedroom window as a child. His biggest wish was to work here one day.
Well, we are good to go. We used to come down here playing all the time when we was kids. I've lost 20 trainers in the mud. Like I said, I watched my brother hang on to the bottom of the bridge to go across the water. Obviously, he was fearing for his life. I didn't really worry about that. I just thought, you would be dead, really. I got to go home and deal with Mum afterwards, innit? And that would have been a much worse situation than falling in the river.
As the River Usk has a tide of up to 8 meters, regular ferries couldn't be operated at low water levels, and a regular bridge would have been way too long and high. At its inauguration in 1906, the Transporter Bridge was celebrated like the 8th wonder of the world. Martin Newman has been working at the Transporter Bridge for 19 years. He's very proud of it.
I'm going to do some greasing, I don't know if you know about it, but this Transporter Bridge is the tallest Transporter Bridge in the world. It's the longest span Transporter Bridge in the world. And by putting this grease on here, I am still the fastest Transporter Bridge in the world. This bridge, what I work on, what I look after, is known as the Ferrari of Transporter Bridges. Ferrari. Okay?
A few years ago, the bridge was closed and renovated. The cables were freshly tautened, the 100-year-old electric engines completely overhauled. Martin also played his part. His colleagues and him had to climb up and down the 74 meters if they needed to pee. On old photos, Martin discovered that there had been a toilet aloft once. He rebuilt it.
As you see, I stepped inside the toilet on the top of the bridge, and if you look over by there, there's a big gaping hole. That's where you actually use the toilet. You actually do what you want to do. And my boss did tell me never to use the toilet as the bridge goes back and forth, crossing. I can understand why.
The men from the Transporter Bridge now care much more for their passengers than in earlier days.
The guy who used to work here, we used to come on after school, and when they got to do the gates, we'd be like this, and on these, playing with these. He picked me up, hung me over the side. Get off my bloody gates, he's going. Crazy guys, they were. Different, I don't wanna.
For everyone working at the Newport Transporter Bridge, it seems more of a relationship than a job.
It's like a living thing. It actually talks to you every day, telling you if she's ill or she's running well. Honestly, it's like being with your wife.
When there's low tide in Clarach Bay, it really is low tide. The sea retreats so much that it can hardly be seen anymore. Then it's time for the cockle pickers. They need to move fast now. The guys are all donks because they used to transport their catch with donkeys. Head donk is Glyn Heintman.
Since Roman times, they tell me. But it basically become more commercial when the railroad came to Pencloud, probably around about the 1860s. Before that, it was how far you could walk or you could go with a horse and cart. As soon as the railroad came, you expanded the market more to us, maybe as far as Bristol, maybe London.
Glyn organises the international sales for the other donks, as hardly anyone in Great Britain eats cockles anymore. Each of the cockle pickers has a licence, which they mostly inherited. There are only 50 permitted pickers at the Severn River Delta, and they must pick the cockles by hand, in the traditional way. It's back-breaking work.
They're not very good this year, it's a bit small they are at the moment. But they're okay for the canning market. Something for the live market. You probably want something like that for the live market in France and Spain. But these now will become the can market for the cockles, like, you know.
Everyone is allowed to pick 300 kilos of cockles a day, under serious time pressure. Joe Ree certainly is the fastest donk.
Picking cockles. So we're doing. We try and work the water so that when we're scraping the cockles, water mixes with the sand and makes it easier for us to gather the cockles. Mud comes out then and use the water to wash them. That's another bucket of cockles.
At this speed, Joe regularly needs a new rake.
You're raking from one side that way all the time. The cockles wear the metal rake away. 9 weeks.
Cockles that are collected with a dredging pump get scared, close and swallow sand. Hand-picked cockles are already closed because they're on dry land. Eating cockles without having to grind your teeth is more expensive.
My father was out here picking cockles when he was 5-year-old, back in the early 60s. So, as far back as he could remember, his family been doing it year and been in Pencloud as well. So, it's a long time tradition. And that, as they say, is that.
The sea returns. Almost every donk got stuck at least once with his 4x4.
I think as Canada is the fastest rise and fall. I think we're part of the 7, and we're the second with a rise and fall. I think Canada beats us by a few feet, I think. Yeah, on a big 8'6". As John Wayne once said, let's light the fuse and get the hell out of here.
It is said that 20,000 saints are buried here, and King Arthur as well. Bistre Island at the northwestern coast of Wales has a special history. The island is called Ynys Enlli in Welsh, Island of Currents. The name fits, as the passage is difficult even when the weather is good. Islander Colin Evans, the ferry's captain, does his best, but he can't promise anything.
In my time, in the summer, we've known people stuck for 4 or 5 days, but we can't get them off. And in the winter, 2 weeks, because of the weather in the winter.
Bistre Island's population consists of 10 people and a colony of grey seals at the dock. Bardsey is a small nature's paradise. There are rare migrating birds, insects, flowers, and more than 350 varieties of lichen. And nobody knows nature here better than Ben Porter. The 17-year-old has been living on the remote island with his family for 6 years. He just passed his correspondence school exam.
I'm just taking the boat out to check a couple of lobster pots that I've got in the bay. Yeah.
Bardsey is exciting enough for Ben.
I'm not too keen on cities, no. No, they're not my favourite places. No, I definitely prefer the quiet of the countryside.
Ben sells the lobsters to the few holiday visitors during summer. His earnings finance his passion.
That one's just a little bit too small, so that one can go free.
Ben is a bird watcher. He wants to study zoology next year. In a small town, if possible.
Hey, Ben, I was just going to call you about the moth paper. It doesn't actually matter. Okay, yeah, I'll have a look at it in a bit. He'd caught a moth of some description, but didn't know what it was. I do quite a lot of moth trapping, so I know quite a lot of different species, and I'm into the very small ones as well, the micro moths.
An extremely rare bird has been sighted on the island, a citrine wagtail. Ben goes stalking.
We came here for the first winter and it was quite nice, and then we just adjusted and just developed different hobbies and things like that suited the place.
In summer, day visitors, friends and new bird species come to the island. Suddenly, Ben's remote island is packed.
It's quite a big thing for teenagers to come to such a remote place, but they're amazing, and I don't think any of us have regretted the move. Ben, did you see that citrine wagtail this morning?
Yeah, we got some good views, although we didn't manage to catch it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's nice.
Ben's father, Steve, also has a hobby that suits island life.
The wind's looking good. I'm just going paragliding.
Okay.
See you later.
Okay, have a good flight.
Yeah, see you.
Bye.
Bardsey Island, a small island with surprisingly much going on. Clarach Bay is a place of research. This van is a mobile laboratory, and these men are on a mission, a Mars mission.
I'm Idris, and ready for action.
Idris is ready. The scientists are from Aberystwyth University. They used the good weather to advance their space project.
It's a robot that we use for our research and all sorts of applications. Initially, it came from a French company, and we've modified so much of it that it's kind of not really what it was initially.
Professor Lawrence Tyler is the head of the team of scientists.
The whole idea is to try and get more science back from every mission that we send up, and the way to do that is to make the rovers more intelligent, so we can give them high-level commands instead of telling them every little thing to do. So if the rover can choose its own rocks to look at and take images of and send them back, and that data is valuable, then that's a good thing, and we've achieved more science for our Euro, so to speak.
Once the sensitive camera system Lawrence and his team developed arrives on Mars, there can be no error. So they need to continue testing.
The surface of Mars is basically covered in very fine sand and dust and gravel all over the place. So although there's a lot of water here and there isn't much water on the surface of Mars, in other respects it's quite a good place to go. And it's very handy for the university because it's just down the road from where we are. So would you like to switch the switch on?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Teleoperation.
There's another difference between the Red Planet and Clarach Bay. There is definitely more life here. The test site is on a campsite's beach.
Danger. Danger.
Fred Labrosse thought of everything.
We're very conscious that it could be a dangerous device. And so here we've used the lasers, which measure the distance of obstacles in front. There's also all sorts of mechanisms at software level and hardware level, with the ultimate one being the remote switch, which will stop it completely.
Okay.
Carefully, Idris approaches its favorite rock and starts to record. The camera system provides data in different color spectrums.
Danger.
Idris concentrates its attention on the rock formations of Clarach Bay. It doesn't care for the bathers. On Mars, it needs to work better.
The 2018 mission ExoMars is a really exciting mission. It's Europe's first rover mission to Mars. The cameras work with a radar that it will have that looks under the ground, and the drill to drill out samples, hopefully to find signs of life having been there. If we're really lucky, life still existing on Mars.
Space technology on a campsite beach. You only find that in Wales. Wow. There are Maras on Mars too, the large blue areas. But Mara TV is so far only available on the blue planet.